everybody, welcome to Board Game Breakfast here at the beautiful Miami Zoo. I'm Tom Vassell, and welcome to another great week where all we're going to do is talk about board games. And so there's a lot going on. We're coming to the end of the year. Our fundraiser for the Dice Tower is starting up 2 weeks from today. And so if you like the Dice Tower, if you want to back us, hopefully in a week or so we'll have some more ways to give you exact information about that, but we have some really cool things coming. But that is still 2 weeks from now. We are finishing off the year. Today I'll be doing a live Q&A at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, PM. So hopefully some of you can come and join me for that. And really, there's just a lot, as the year comes to a close, we're looking at a lot of really neat things. So stay tuned. Let's get to the news. Okay, so in the news this week, first of all, Mayfair announced some stuff that's coming out this month, actually. First, a 5 to 6 player expansion for Agricola. Now, the new Agricola was only up to 4 players. I believe the original one went to 5, but 6 players has not been available before. I don't think you should play Agricola with 6 players, but whatever. It's also gonna have some new cards and stuff that work with having these extra players. So anyway, there's that. Portal of Heroes is a game that they have, which I've heard mixed reactions on the people who've played early version. Some people have called it a Splendor card game. That sounds good to me, who knows. And Saboteur Duel. This one's intriguing because Saboteur is a fun game where you're trying to figure out who is the Saboteur. But this is 2 players, so you're either working together or working against each other. And it can be played solo, which is a really weird thing to do with a game called Saboteur Duel. Ninja Division has picked up a couple games that they're taking over from Wyvern Games. They kickstarted these games, I believe, and now Ninja Division will be publishing them with, I guess, few changes. That's Cthulhu, the deck building game. That's going to be coming out Q1 of 2017, and Onami Q2. I really like the artwork and look of Onami. Mort Wallace has announced the end of Tree Frog. If you remember back in August, Mort Wallace announced that Tree Frog was no longer going to be a publisher, but instead they were just going to be a design studio. And their last game was going to be A Handful of Stars, which is about to be published or about to be sent out to people. I'm not sure exactly where that is. But he has now basically announced Tree Frog Games is no more. A Handful of Stars will be the last game from Tree Frog Games, publisher or design studio. Mort Wallace will now be a freelance designer. More interesting than in this is that A Handful of Stars, and it's interesting, I read in this blog, I caught this. Handful of Stars is like a third in a trilogy of games with the card deck building combat. It started off when the game, what's that? A Few Acres of Snow, yes. Thank you, cameraman. And so this is the third game in that series. Well, he sold the rights to that system to Fantasy Flight Games so that they can use those in their games. I just find that kind of fascinating. What will they do? They'll probably stick it in their next game. Will be one of the 2,000 mechanisms they stick in a game. Ultra Pro has picked up Flag Dash from Peacekeeper. Again, Ultra Pro is continuing. They're picking up different little publishers and stuff. It's still a little confusing to me as to how they're deciding who to pick up. It looks like they're going, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm not saying that Flag Dash is a bad game. It's a fine game, but it just kind of, there seems to be no rhyme or reason to what Ultra Pro is doing. Level 99 has announced a couple games that are coming out very early, Q1 2017. Anansi, which is a trick-taking game, so I'm kind of on board with that, and Tomb Trader. Ha 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 on the pun. And finally, Cosmos has gotten the rights back to Targi. This is good. Why is it good? Because last year they came out with an expansion for Targi that was only in German, and that saddened me because I love Targi and I want to see an expansion for it. Well, they're going to be reprinting the English expansion of Targi, which is good, except it's going to be in 2018. All right, well, at least it's coming at some point. Targi will still be in my collection in 2018 because it is an excellent game. All right, let's get to the crowdfunding roundup with Suzanne.
Happy breakfast, everybody. Some fun stuff to look at today, so let's get going. A lot of gamers will tell you Crokinole is the must-have dexterity game, but traditionally, Crokinole boards are pretty expensive. It's been a few years, but Mayday Games is back with an updated version of their board that features some thoughtful new details and a relatively affordable price. This new tournament edition for 2017 has a mahogany veneer, includes a disc storage box with scoring track, and it even has eyelets pre-installed for easy hanging because these are really big and a lot of people store them by hanging them on the wall. Mayday's trying to make it clear that they're putting extra care into the shipping protection too. As with any bigger ticket item, I definitely recommend you do your research on the product, company, and release plans. The 2017 Crokinole boards have a rolling release, but for just $99 plus shipping, you could own your very own Crokinole board. Iberian Rails is a lighter weight, train-themed stock game. Like mini rail games, you'll be working to connect cities using railroad lines. Shares of those lines increase in value the more cities that rail line connects. Like many stock games, you'll be working to buy and sell shares of those rail lines optimally. Iberian Rails has an open round-robin style bidding and a closed simultaneous bidding option, each of which pays out slightly differently. Iberian Rails adds a twist to the rail and stock game norms by using a role selection element in which different character cards determine things like the cost of the rails or other special abilities granted to you in a round. And getting those characters is interesting because players start by returning their previous character and then choosing from what's available after that. This means that character availability is always shifting around, adding a compelling element to the gameplay. You can get a copy of Iberian Rails for a pledge of $44 plus shipping. In Sector 6, players are stuck in a space prison where oxygen is running low. Players navigate the ever-evolving labyrinth of the prison trying to collect the most oxygen before all those oxygen tokens are gone. The intriguing thing about Sector 6 is the maze and puzzle heart of it. A player's mini must move the full length of the open corridor, and then they can pick up a token from the space they left, or they can rotate that tile. This means the maze is constantly changing, and the game is as much about blocking your opponent's options as it is taking advantage of your own. Sector 6's setup is random every game, and there are different difficulties and even a solo mode to choose from. You can get a copy of Sector 6 for a pledge of $25 plus shipping. And last but not least, Quad Heroes is a fascinating new game that presents a unique mechanism, funky cube characters, and tosses in a bit of Robo-Rally chaos. The hook in Quad Heroes is the clever use of your six-sided character. Movement starts with a single tumbling style movement, then whatever side of the cube is face up after that is your action that you get to take, including jumping, sliding, or more tumbling. I can honestly say I've never seen tumbling movement used like this in a board game before. Quad Heroes has a few game modes you can choose from, including a straightforward race, capture the flag, or even questing for treasures. All of this is done on modular boards that have shades of Robo-Rally because you have to plan for and take advantage of the board elements themselves, like avoiding chasms or planning ahead for river movement. You'll be building up your Quad Heroes abilities through upgrades and cards throughout the game. And those cards can also do things like change the board or give you one-time boosts. You can get a copy of the base game for a pledge of $75 Canadian plus shipping, or the $95 deluxe edition that includes a bunch of Kickstarter exclusives. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hi, welcome to Miniatures World. 2016 has been another banner year as board games and miniatures seem to merge and become closer and closer together. Some great releases, Blood Bowl, Conan, but this late in the year, could anything come out to really blow us away? Well, I think something really did, and that's Doom, from Fantasy Flight of all people. These sculpts are just amazing. Why don't we go down to the table and take a look at this surprisingly great sculpt miniature game. Now, if you guys have been following my painting on Thursday nights, my live painting, you'll know that this is the project that we're working on next. And here's the Baron of Hell that we started working on, and we've already started with the Kako Demon. But look at the detail on these guys. These guys are just fantastic, and it's some of the best work that I've seen from Fantasy Flight. These are just wonderful to paint and just incredible sculpts. Very good plastic, hard, solid. This guy comes in 3 parts, but he goes together pretty quickly. And if you just watch my segment, you'll see us paint it and get them all set. I think this could be one of the top games of the year, and these are just absolutely gorgeous models. Now, I'm absolutely blown away by how good those sculpts are, and I hope their further games are going to be more indicative of that. And I can't wait to see more of what they do, especially with that Battlelore game coming out at the beginning of 2017. Well, that's it for Miniatures World this week. Be sure to check out my painting each and every week as we finish up these Doom figures and see how they turn out. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, so what's coming out from us this week? Well, a lot more top 10s of 2016 are going to be done. I'll be talking about the top 10 family games of 2016, the top 10 surprises of 2016, the top 10 party games of 2016, and we're going to be doing Jason's top 10, so you'll be able to see what he thinks are the best 10. Guy's just an insane person. I don't know why anyone would care about his top 10 list at all. I'll be taking a look at some games. We're going to be taking a look at Doom, the board game, Jorvik, Saloon Tycoon, and just Way Out West, Karoshia, and you might see a bloopers video this week from the Dice Tower because we occasionally do weird things on this show. I can't imagine why. Alrighty, let's keep going.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, welcoming you to that time of year where we look back and inexplicably, arbitrarily rank things for some reason. Looking back at 2016, I see that I played about 140 different board and card games this year. Now, some were brand new, some were just new to me, and others were old favorites. But I can't help but wonder, how can I best judge and label them? Well, let's find out in the first part of my official, completely subjective top list of whatever I decide to put on it 2016, Board Game Flavor Edition. Here we go. First up is the game that needs more game. This is the game that, while playing it is an enjoyable experience, afterwards, instead of being left with a sense of satisfaction and smug accomplishment, I am left unsatiated. Well, this year, more than any other game, Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft leaves me wanting more. This is an excellent game, don't get me wrong, but it always leaves me wanting an expansion to add more cards and more characters and just more content to it. This game, more than any other game I played this year, just needs more stuff. Next up is the game that packed the biggest punch into the smallest box. And this year, that game is definitely Deep Sea Adventure. This wee little tiny game tests just how far you're willing to risk your own well-being in the name of unbridled avarice. Playing the part of a deep-sea explorer, you are hunting for sunken treasure, and the deeper you dive, the bigger your potential rewards. And all you risk in doing so is your personal air supply. The greedier you are, the higher the chance that you'll end up a bloated husk floating on the ocean surface by pushing your luck too far. Well, turns out, I'm pretty greedy. But even repeatedly succumbing to a watery tomb didn't diminish my enjoyment of this game. Well, that's it for this installment, but join me next time when I will continue down my list of arbitrary board gaming selections from the past year, including, eventually, my favorite game that I played for the very first time in 2016. What game could it be? Well, if I already knew, then this list wouldn't really be arbitrary then, would it? Maybe? I don't know. I'll find out before next time, and I'll see you then.
Hey everyone, it's lunchtime! Today we're going to talk about Scuttle. It's a card game designed by Peter C. Hayward and Kelly Joe, published by Jellybean Games. It plays 1 to 5 players in about 5 minutes and ages 6 and up.
So Scuttle is, well, you're basically pirates, scuttling across your ships trying to collect the most treasure, racing to 21 points. There's a couple of fun expansions in the set that we have. There's a scurvy set, which of course brings on diseases, so make sure you take your vitamin C.
Which is actually in there, vitamin C, SCA. I thought that was really cute.
It is.
The art's really fun on this game. I mean, it's a 5-minute game, so I think you can play, obviously, I think it's at 6 and up. You can play with younger kids. You can play multiple games because it's so short. I do like the added expansions of the diseases, which, you know, can take away points, give you points. And then what's the other expansion? That's
Curse of Blackjack, where you can summon cards, so you can kind of do a gamble and turn the card over. If it's a treasure, you get to play it right away. And if it's not, then it goes into your hand. So.
The art is accessible. There's some text on the cards, so if they're really young kids and have some difficulty with reading, then that might be an issue. But otherwise, very fun, very light, very fast game.
Yeah. So overall, we enjoyed it, and we played it a few times over, you know, in one sitting. So definitely something you can pull out at lunchtime with the colleagues. Easy to teach. This was on Kickstarter. They're now, I think, sending out to backers, so it should still be available on their website. And yeah, looking forward to trying it again. What do you guys think?
Gonna be playing it over the holidays.
Yes, that's right. So everyone, have a happy holidays, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey folks, for Tom Thinks today, Jason is joining me because he's just butting in to what I think.
And I have thoughts also.
So today I'm going to talk about the year 2016 as a whole. Of course, it's, you know, these things are always hard to tell. Sometimes a year is best looked at 5 years later, right? And I might even do that next year. Go back 5 years into like 2012 and say, well, how good was the year 2012? Hint, it was amazing. But this is the year 2016, so I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, we're starting to see a lot of hype come for games. We've been seeing this hype machine for a while now, where there's a lot of little Kickstarter games that get hype, but now this hype has turned into like huge hype machines. We had Scythe come out this year. Was there a game that was more hype than Scythe? I don't think so.
Mechs and Minions.
Well, yeah, but that was different, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later, but I'm talking about that pre-hype where we heard about it for like a year before it came out.
Yes.
Well, Scythe. And then we got games that were really hyped at the end of 2015 and didn't even come out this year, like Gloomhaven, Seventh Continent. Kingdom Death Monster is getting a huge amount of hypes, and I'm saying that so that you know that we talk about it on this show.
And I've played it as well.
Oh, well, give us a quick thought, since...
I liked it. I don't think it's worth the money. That's about as quick as I could say.
So you don't think the hype is higher than the game
The hype
is worth?
is higher than the game is worth. It was cool, but it wasn't anything special.
You just guaranteed 50 thumbs down from the Kingdom Death people.
Probably.
All right. The biggest hyped game of this year, though, other than Scythe, was probably Seafall. And that's really intriguing to see how Seafall has come out, because it was the game that people would have stabbed you for at Gen Con, and then universally the reviewers gave it pretty negative reviews. However, now that it's come out into the public, a lot of people are giving it very positive reviews, so I don't know where it will stay. It will not be in the top 100 games. It's just not going to happen. Hot games of the year. What do you think the hot games were? Not your favorite or my favorite. What do you think were for example, the 5 hottest games, like people rated them highly on Board Game Geek?
Well, for sure, Star Wars Rebellion.
Yes, good.
Mechs and Minions.
Mechs vs. Minions, yes.
And I would say Star Wars Destiny is going to be ranked highly.
Maybe, but it's not there yet because it came out so close.
Terraforming Mars.
Okay, you got 3 out of 5. 2 other ones. We just talked about one for a lot. Scythe.
Oh, Scythe, yes, Scythe.
And one was actually a reprint of a game.
A reprint?
Yeah, but it added an app to it, and that's Mansions of Madness.
Oh, Mansions of Madness, yes.
Really got a lot of love. The biggest monster hit of previous years that is still crushing this year, winning awards, selling more probably than any other game. We're always looking for those games that are like Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, Catan. So what's the game right now that is like those?
Pandemic.
No, Pandemic is doing well, but it's having things. But what's the game that came out just last year that is winning awards and selling billions of copies, and we gave out hundreds of them ourselves?
Codenames with 2 expansions this year. Codenames Pictures and Codenames After Dark, or whatever they call the After Dark version.
Right, and Codenames is just blowing up. I mean,
yes.
Codenames is sold, it's going to hit a million copies. That's unbelievable. So few games do that. So that's a big story of 2016, even though it technically came out and with Codename Pictures. Codenames is still doing better than Codename Pictures, but they're both doing really well. And because of that, we have to talk about the biggest news story of the year, which has to do with Jason's not favorite company anymore because of this story, and that is Asmodee. Now, last year, Asmodee bought Fantasy Flight Games, although essentially it feels like Fantasy Flight Games bought Asmodee.
Yes.
It really does come across that way. But Asmodee has grown bigger and bigger, and this year they shocked us all by buying not only Catan and Spot It,
And
but
Z-Man.
they bought Z-Man Games. And I didn't expect, well, I expected Catan, but I didn't expect the other ones. And that's like Spot It, you don't even think much about Spot It, but that's a huge game that's sold probably over 1 million copies too. And so they control these and they're big, and then they threw their weight around this year by essentially taking
Online retailers and saying they only can sell it for a certain price.
well, yeah, they didn't actually say that they can only sell for a certain price. They just sold it to online retailers for a slightly higher price, so that online retailers had to sell it for a lower price or it wouldn't work out right. And so we don't know how that has worked out so far. I think it's going to take years. Some people have told me that it's failing. Other people have told me that it's good. So I'm not sure. I know you don't like it.
Well,
right?
it costs me more money to buy the games that I buy, but you know, that is what it is for now. I'm curious in the long run if it really helps the local game stores, if it doesn't, and if the sales have gone down in online game stores due to people saying, oh, it's a little bit more money, I can't afford as many games, like people who don't have the kind of money that they could buy multiple games again and again, like some people do.
But I think one thing we are seeing is we're seeing the Asmodee / Fantasy Flight. They're only focusing on fewer games. They're a big company, but they're fewer games. In the top 10 ranked games that came out this year, 5 of them are from Asmodee, which is pretty big. Okay. However, if you go down in the top 50, there's only like 3 or 4 more. Okay. They're just picking a few games and really concentrating on them. So don't worry. Even though this Asmodee thing I don't think is I don't know that's that positive right now. However, there are other companies that are picking up the slack. Stronghold Games is not a huge company, but they have some of the hottest games of the year.
Yes.
Cool Mini or Not went from publishing 3 or 4 games a year to like 25 this year. They also, a lot of those games they published were not on Kickstarter, which is a big deal. And CGE is becoming a pretty big company in America.
Yes.
They're only putting out 3 or 4 games a year, but those games are really doing well.
Yes. Adrenaline did well this year.
There's other companies. We got AEG and WizKids, and so there's really a ton of companies that are making games, and the Kickstarter companies, some of them are starting to grow and become actual companies. Most of them go out of business, but some of them, and then there's Ultra Pro. Yeah, okay, I'm just kidding. Mayfair sold Catan, so their company is changing.
Yes.
If you remember, whenever we went to like Origins or Gen Con, it was Mayfair advertising everywhere, and they were pushing Catan.
Yes.
That was like their main game. Now that it's gone, they are really pushing Agricola. Will that work? Time will tell. I don't think it will work, do you?
I'm not sure. I mean, Agricola sold its most when it was still with Z-Man, when Z-Man had the partnership with Lookout. Agricola hasn't sold as much since Mayfair got the rights to it and made the Lookout deal. So I'm not sure if Agricola will be the same kind of tentpole. Obviously, it won't be the same kind of tentpole as Catan, but what kind of tentpole will it be? I'm not sure.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is conventions. Conventions really changed in 2016, as in they all sold out and they all got bigger. There was just a huge, BGG sold in a couple hours, Dice Tower sold out in 12 minutes. Many other conventions sold out. Gen Con and Essen were just packed. Origins got bigger. UK Gaming Expo got much bigger. We're just seeing, and we saw like more game conventions start. You know, I was talking to Jason, he's wearing his Dice Tower Cruise thing. But the Dice Tower Cruise was not even something we thought was feasible 5 years ago. To get that many people to show up on a ship, and now it's like, yeah, and we can do it again next year. The people who are going and getting involved in gaming and stuff is growing at a huge rate.
Yes, and it's not just at conventions, it's gaming in general, and the hobby's growing, and we're in a growth period, and it's a good period for the gaming industry, I feel. The biggest thing that is not a good thing, and I don't know if this is a negative or positive, is that companies aren't publishing enough games for the demand. So games sell out rather quickly nowadays. Before, there'd always be games diddle-dallying around, so you could always get a copy of what game you wanted. Now you have to worry about, if you don't get it right away, you might have to wait 4 months for the next print run.
But that's because there's 1,000+ games out at any point in time.
Yeah.
So you're afraid to make too many of a game, because then you'll be sitting on it. You don't know which games are going to be hits or not. There's really good, solid games that come out that don't become a hit, right? you know, you have your top 10, I have my top 10, but then we have our next 10s and stuff. There's some really good games in there that are probably never. We talk about Steve Bonacourt, and he has Great Western Trail and Terraforming Mars, and those are both going to be big hits. He also came out with Jorvik, which is going to be, it's a very solid game, right?
Yes.
But it's not going to be a big hit. Why? Because it's just not getting the...
It's not getting the buzz, and it's a reprint of an older game.
Right, there's so many different factors, so companies don't know how many of a game to make. It's scary. You don't want to make too many. So Jason's right in that regard. So that's kind of what I think of. I think 2016 was a solid year. I think for games, like how good the games were, for most people, I think 2015 was a better year. For me, 2016 was slightly better because I had so many games go in my top 20 of all time. But I think overall, 2016 was an amazing year of growth. Next week, I'm going to do another Tom Thinks where I talk about the Dice Tower, specifically how we've grown and changed in 2016. But that's what I think of the year at all. Good year?
I think it was a great year. I know the comparison to 2015, and I'm going to give 2015 the slight edge. There was more solid games, maybe not at the top, but in the top 50, I think there were more solid games last year. Not that there were bad games this year. This year had a lot more expansions.
Yeah, but can you imagine, like, if this, let's say last year was 1997, compared to this year, 97 would have been terrible.
Oh, yes.
Every year nowadays, when we compare games, like when some people go, 2016 was a weak year. I'm like, yeah, compared maybe to like 2015 and 2014 maybe, because it's still amazing how much stuff has come out.
And I think this year was a good, strong year. I think it was maybe the strongest year for expansions and reprints. There was a lot of great expansions this year, a lot of reprints of older games this year. And I think that market is as well taking off because people are discovering games that might have come out 6 or 7 years ago, like what Tom did with Dice Tower Essentials and Sheriff of Nottingham. That's becoming a more popular thing now.
Alrighty, well, let's keep moving on.
Hello there, my name is Niels, Cyril's Brettspiele, and today we're talking about a big baby. Windows Deluxe Eagle Griffin game, and let's see inside the box what my favorite is and what I'm not liking too much on the game. And yeah, let's do it, the best and the worst. My favorite part here on Windows Deluxe is definitely that you move your meeples here around. It's centered in the board, so you know exactly which round you're in, what to have to do, what is your action. If you take the action twice, it's printed on. When you move to someone else, you know exactly what's going on. And so on, every single detail is printed here in the center, so everybody has the same distance to see it. Great. And even after you finish the game and you go to end scoring, it's also printed on it. Brilliant. I really like that part. One of the things I don't like too much is this game forces you sometimes to make some mistakes. One of this could be when you take the action, you cannot see it right now, it's out of the center. When you take the action from the centerpiece 1 or 2 times, for an example, buying some regions, then you have to flip over these tiles here as a special action. So another action, then if you wanted to sell this one here from this special action here, selling this wine, then you have to take a look if you have cubes over there in the region and all of that. This game forces you sometimes to oversee something because there's so much going on. To be fair and honest, this is an expert game, so you have to be focused, and that's what the game market is all about. So it's not too bad, but this is sometimes a little bit my favorite part on Windows Deluxe. Now you know it, and also the part I don't like too much on it. Eagle Griffin Games, my name is Niels, Cyril's Brettspiele, and we see all each other next week here on the Dice Tower. Bye bye.
It's time to look at another shelf here in my collection. So we're going to take a look here at some great games. I have Eldritch Horror, which you can see is kind of bursting out of the box. I have some large expansions I'm going to be reviewing soon, and I'm going to have to double the size of Eldritch Horror, put some of it in one box and some in another. So much for there not being as many expansions as Arkham, huh? Mansions of Madness is a huge box, but I really like this game. If you've seen, one of my favorite games of the year. And Abyss, this is an excellent Bruno Catala game with some of the most beautiful artwork ever. A really solid game, and the expansion really helped bring that out. This is one of the oldest games I have in my collection, Colossal Arena. This is from Reiner Knizia, and everybody in it has there's monsters fighting in an arena, and you are betting on which ones are going to win. It's a pretty neat game, and it really works well with 3 players. The Adventurers, I talk about this one all the time. This one's out of print. I'm hoping to see it come back in print. This game where you're basically Indiana Jones going into a temple and trying to get out with as much treasure as you can. Domineer of the Tempest line. This was a series of Euro games that were all tied together by AEG. This one is my favorite. It can be a little long, but man, I really enjoy how there's different cards in this game. They can be played at different times, and the earlier you play a card, the more powerful it could be later on in the game. Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters is a great kids game, co-op game where you're taking out ghosts. They remade it this year with a Ghostbusters theme, but I like the original one just slightly better because the components are so good. And Dungeon Fighter, I have a ton of stuff here in this box. This is one where you are throwing dice at a table, bouncing dice, trying to hit a target to fight them, and you throw them different ways. I have all 4 expansions, Earth, Fire, Water, and Air. So a lot of cool things. Some really cool games, as always, of course. That's another look at my shelves.
Hey, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In this week's episode, I didn't get it done. So instead, I'm going to tell you the top 10 reasons to tell Tom why you didn't get your segment done. Segment? I don't remember having to do a segment. Dice Tower? I've never heard of it. Oh, my segment. Yes, it was in my card reader, and I think I left it in my car. Tom, I didn't understand the segment. Could you just go over it one more time and just give me another go at it? So you see, my computer crashed, and my printer stopped working too. Oh, printer? Oh, I like to print out my segments so I can proofread it to make sure it's really good. So you see, Tom, I had my other segment I had to do for Will Wheaton's new board game variety show, and I had to get that done first, so I didn't have time to do this one. Hello? Tom, you there? Oh, you know what? I think I was absent when you initially assigned that segment. So you see, it's kind of a funny thing. My dog ate my SD card that had my segment on it. Yeah, I can wait a few hours. So Tom, you see, I've had this terrible headache the entire week and couldn't get my segment done. Why am I coughing? I don't know how to make a headache noise. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Okay, the truth is, you guys did such a great job with so many Splendor retheme ideas from last week's segment that I'm still going through them trying to figure out the top 10, because I want to give the top 10 to you guys to help me figure out which one to do, because they're such great ideas. I mean, everything from Banana Splits, Disney, you name it, everything's in there. I love it. I really want to do it right the first time. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hi, my name's Dave Adams. Welcome to Good Game, Better Gamers. Now, I'm hoping to finish off today on our discussion on Big C creativity. And I haven't posted videos the last couple of weeks simply because I've had a virus and have not had a voice to talk. The first winter I've been through without getting sick, and as soon as summer hits, I get a virus. Brilliant. Let's get this discussion going because I want to finish this off with the Big C creative dude, this guy, Richard Garfield. And I wanted to finish with Garfield because he really personifies for me that really strong quality of innovative individuals, of questioning. The guy just asks amazing questions and he takes concepts and he's always pitting things against each other. He's always looking for new angles. He's always looking for different ways of understanding the world. Now, one of the things with big creative ideas is that they often don't come out of the blue. They're usually inspired by or a combination of ideas that come together and form new ideas. And that's usually how innovation works. There's no better example of this than Magic the Gathering. He wanted to get his game Robo Rally published, but it was too expensive to publish at the time. So they asked him to come up with something that was easier, more portable, and cost cheaper to publish than Robo Rally. To which he responded with the idea that he always wanted to try a game that combined baseball trading cards with some of his favorite games, which were based on Cosmic Encounter at the time. Out of combining and meshing his favorite games with trading cards, he came upon the idea of Magic the Gathering. It is a skill that is practiced and developed, and we can do that too. Just questioning things around us, wondering what happens if we combine this idea with that idea. Why is that so? How did that come to be? Why do people like that? Why do people not like that? What happens if we mix this idea with a banana? Now, thank you for sticking with me through this topic, and I would love to hear from you. If you have any ideas of Big C creatives, put them in the comment section below. There's any number of great game designers who have pushed the boundary of what it means to be a game designer. I'd love to hear which ones that you think deserve to be in that category. And I tell you what, if there's some popular choices, I might even have a look at them in the new year. My name's Dave Adams. Enjoy your breakfast.
So today I wanted to show you these clear plastic boards that come from BoardGameBoost.com. Now these boards, this is one here for Great Western Trail. And so I just wanted to show you this one I haven't put together yet. But these boards come and there's two pieces. This is the top piece with the holes punched in it. And when you look at these pieces, there's a piece here that punches out. And in this one are all the little pieces that hold the two boards together. And then there's these little tabs on these boards, and when you break one tab off, it gives you a chance to start tearing away this brown paper, which comes right off, and once you pull that paper off of both sides, it is clear. Now this one here for Terraforming Mars, which is a game I really, really like, is basically what it does is when you put your cubes in, it's going to hold them in position. And so you'll be able to say, okay, I have 8, and they're fit in there, not too snug, but snug enough that if your board gets shaken for any reason, they're not going to move. And then when you put the actual elements, they can fit into different areas. There's walls around here so you don't accidentally forget which area they're in. And in fact, this area down here, which is the energy changing to heat, you can break this piece off and go in here. You don't have to break it off. Here's another board with it put back together. I personally prefer them broken off because you're going to be sliding them over enough over the course of the game. And if you get over, let's say I have, for example, more than 10 production in steel, I can put one here to show that it's 10 plus 3, so 13 production in steel. These are really nice boards. Now they are expensive. You're going to pay almost as much of these, no, not as the cost of the game, but but this is something I really like. I like to make the games I have really cool, and these they feel good. They're pretty sturdy. They're pretty easy to put together. It takes a little bit of time to tear that paper off, but not too much. I was able to put one together in about 5 minutes or so. So again, that's from BoardGameBoost.com.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here to talk to you today about
Looping Louie.
Looping Louie. I thought you were going to say board games for children of 5 and under. Oh, I forgot. We're here to talk about Looping Louie. Looping Louie is possibly a game that needs no introduction, as it's very popular amongst gamers and is a number 3 ranked kids game over on Board Game Geek. In the game, you're a chicken keeper who's fighting to protect their flock from Louie, an insane crop duster who's inhaled too much insecticide and decided to dive bomb your chicken coop with his World War II era plane. Fortunately, you had the forethought to construct a huge lever contraption which you can use to bat Louie away from your hens and, hopefully, persuade him to focus on the farmer on the other side of the valley instead. The winner of the game is the last person to have 1 or more chickens left. So, Cora, what do you think about Looping Louie?
I like it because I like Billy the Switch.
You like turning it on, don't you? That's your favourite bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that it stands up and just stays there by itself.
It does, it bounces at the top, doesn't it, until it falls down.
Yeah, and I also like this sound.
Yeah. It's a game that's better with a few more people, actually, Looping Louie. I'd say 4 people ideally, 3 minimum. But normally we play it with Cora's brother and sister, but they won't entertain the idea of being on video. So
yeah, they don't like being on cameras, but they're okay not being on cameras.
Yeah, they're okay watching YouTube, aren't they, all the time? But they're not okay being on YouTube for some reason. But anyway, we don't care because we give Looping Louie 2 thumbs up.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
Jason Levine.
And our question today is from Alexander, and he says, what's the publisher's responsibility when they do a misprint in a game that dramatically affects gameplay? Now, there is lots of misprints in games. I still remember the very first version of Twilight Struggle spelled chili as if it was a food.
Yes.
Okay, and there was minor. I don't mind that stuff that much. I mean, sometimes you sit there and go, how could they miss that? But you know what? Having worked in publishing, you can have 30 people check something and it can still make it through. And sometimes that happens. Now, what should a publisher do if a big mistake makes it through? This actually happened in a game I may have designed called Nothing Personal. Do you know what we did? Do you remember?
Wasn't it one of the squares
There was,
on the board?
yeah, it was a thing on the board with a problem.
Yeah, it was one of the rule things on the board. I don't remember what it was.
So we made a sticker.
Yes.
And we handed the stickers out. We sent the Game Sleuth sent stickers out, and then you put that sticker on the board and covered it up. Sometimes you can do that if it's just a card. It's really easy to replace cards. Cards are not too expensive. The problem is not so much the actual fixing it; it's getting it to everybody who's made the mistake.
Yes, that's the hard part. But publishers are good. You know, if they have a misprint on something and they make a new version, they will say, email us if you have it, and we'll send it out to you. And they're good about that.
Yeah, I mean, not every publisher. I mean, you probably, if you're watching this and you know about this, you'll know some horror story. Well, this publisher never did this. Okay, yes, but I mean, for the most part, it's not going to be a problem. Most publishers will get that stuff taken care of, especially if it's a major game-changing thing. I do not know that you, like in the example, Chili, for example, I do not know, it's like, I need this fixed now. I can live with there being a misspelling on the board or something.
Exactly, that wouldn't bother me.
It's not, I mean, even if it bothers you, it's not the end of the world, you can still play the game. But if it's game-changing, it would be nice to get it fixed. Even though I would, and I know this will make you cringe, but let's say there was a card that said, place 2 armies here, and it was really place 4. I would take a black marker and write 4 on the card.
No, I wouldn't. I would wait for the new card or the errata. I would not write on anything.
All right. Well, anyway, that's what I think in that regard. Until next time, I'm Tom Basil.
Jason Levine.
I love eBay. I love buying things on eBay. I love selling things on eBay. I love just searching. Sorry, one second. But with eBay, one thing I've realized recently is that winning can look an awful lot like losing. I mean, it can look so much like losing that to the untrained eye, you definitely lost. And so, since you asked, and I'm aware that you didn't, here are my top tips for eBay. Just because you won the auction does not mean you won anything. All you did was win the right to pay for something. It's like winning your money back on a scratch card. You didn't really win, you just didn't lose as much. You probably do not need what you're looking at on eBay right now. Just because it's on eBay doesn't mean it's cheap. You can get amazing deals if you're willing to scroll and wait. And wait. Do not bid on something until the last 10 seconds. It's dangerous, but it's worth it. Have a maximum price and don't go over it. And my last tip is my pro tip. So take it in. Let's get quiet. Let's talk about this. Come on. My last tip is that look at what time the auction ends at. And if it ends at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're way more likely to win it for a good price than if it ends at like 8 p.m. where everyone's ignoring their families over dinner and looking at the phone. Oh yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the money melon. So please, in the comments below, let me know what your best eBay tips are. And also, I'd love to know what your best eBay buys are and your worst. That'd be funny.
Well, folks, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us for another board game breakfast. I am always excited at the end of the year because I love all these take a look back at the end of the year stuff. I just do. I like looking back at everything, and we get excited because we're gearing up for next year. There is a lot of work we've been doing in the last couple of weeks, getting promos organized for our fundraiser, which is going to be on Indiegogo. There's a lot of, like planning. What are we going to do next year? What's going to be different? We're already starting to plan conventions and things, but we're not going to stop reviewing games. There's always going to be a lot of amazing games that come out from us, so keep an eye out for that. They're going to be coming out this week. Well, not all the games are amazing. Some of them are not quite very good at all, but you never know. So until next time, I'm Tom Basil, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.